Would you pray with me, please? O God of wonder and delight, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be pleasing and acceptable to you this day, for you are truly our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. So it's All Saints' Day. We have this text that comes from Ephesians and also from 2 Thessalonians that talk about faith, that talk about the endurance, that talk about the importance of keep going on, right? Passing the message of faith along to those who come after us. It's so important for us here now. Especially today, coming back into this sanctuary. And for those of you who have been here a long time, I would really encourage you to think about all the times you have sat here. And all of the worship services, and all of the special services, the memorials, and the weddings, and the baptisms, all taking place in this place. And how will you, whether you've been here just today for a first time or for all of the years these doors have been open, how will you be intentional about the inheritance you will leave for the next generation? How will you help pass on a meaningful faith to a new group of followers? That is not to exclude anyone who's here, who has been here for a long time, but to also pay attention to those who are just coming, or those who are not even here yet. Inheritance. Perhaps you've been a part of gatherings after someone has died where there's a reading of the will. We see it a lot on TV. I've never really experienced that in real life myself. The passing on of the things that are important. This is what we do with our faith. We can't give someone else our faith. We can't pound it into somebody. But we are charged with making sure that faith is passed on. That there is something for others to know about who Jesus is. Something for others to know about the abundant love of God. This text invites us to remember that what we have in Christ is of high value, and invites us always to see, not with just anything, but to see with the eyes of our heart. What does that look like for you? The eyes of your heart. See, if we just very simply look at the word heart, there is the word hear and ear in that word heart. And so listening is automatically a part of it, right? You can't skip over heart without paying attention to that which you hear with your heart, that which you feel, that which you see with your heart. Part of the high value of passing on your faith is not only the intellectual structure of the church, but the emotion that goes along with it. The friendships, those things which cause you to cry sometimes, which cause you to ponder and think deeply about what you've experienced. Why do you feel the way that you do? In times when your faith has been weakened or strengthened by a circumstance, a celebration, or a tragedy. You see, all of those things become intertwined as we think about passing on this highly valued thing, right? The eyes of our heart. That is how we are to see. This is what is written. I pray that the eyes of your heart will have enough light to see. What is the hope of God's call? Oh, these words, dear friends, are so important to us. As we turn this corner into a new future, into who we'll be when we grow up. We've been talking about that a lot, and you may think as 50 plus years, maybe we're growing up. But in the lifespan of churches, think of the ones that have been around a whole lot longer than that. We could really be in our teenage years or maybe in our early 20s as a church. Hopefully we are not at the end of our days. But this is why this notion of inheritance and passing on is so important. We have to pass on that from the past which tugs at our heart, right? And also pass on that which will be new. That which will be tremendously new and speak volumes to a generation that certainly runs in completely different circles than I did. We saw our granddaughters for just a brief moment on Friday. And with electronic devices and all that they can do, both of them are so adept at cell phones, it blows my mind. Their world is so different. What is the meaning that we in the church can pass on? What inheritance do we leave for this generation that is living and breathing and having their life in such a different way than most of us did? How do we do that? I wish you could have seen some of the children here yesterday and the joy in their faces just to be in this space around us. To share in the smiles with the child development teachers and our very own members who were out greeting and passing out candy and doing cakewalks and handing out hot dogs. To see the gleam in their eye. Something that touched them in a way that perhaps can say, this is an okay place. Maybe I can come back here one day. That's how people are brought to church, through the children, most of the time. It was a beautiful thing to see how we continue to offer our down payment on our inheritance to the future generations. It's an important thing that we do. In this day where we celebrate life of those who have no longer breath on this earth, we talk about the cloud of witnesses. You each has your own cloud of witnesses around you, and then there is a general cloud of witnesses. But then the question comes to us, what are we giving witness to? What is your life giving witness to for the future generations? For tomorrow and the tomorrows after that? The life that we pass on. It is so important that we do with intention pass on what we know about Jesus. We can't just assume anymore that people know, because that's no longer true. I don't know if it ever was, but certainly not in this day. So what is it you give witness to? How do you share your faith with joy? The end of this Ephesians text says God put everything under Christ's feet and made him the head of everything in the church. That is important for us to remember. The church is his body. His body, the church, is the fullness of Christ, who fulfills everything in every way. So here we come again. This fullness of our faith is related to everything. Everything. And if I move now to this text from 2 Thessalonians, I love this. Let me read for you again. They're talking about praying for communities of faith, just like we have here. Can you imagine? This is true. Other people praying for us, even in our district and in our annual conference. We have lists of churches that every week we're invited to pray for. And we are on that list. There are people elsewhere always praying for us. And so this is what is happening in this text. And it says it is only right because of your faithfulness. Oh, your faithfulness is growing by leaps and bounds, and the love that you have for each other is increasing. Oh, that is my prayer. That is truly my prayer. That your faith is growing by leaps and bounds. You may think that you've come to a time and place in your life that doesn't have to happen. But it's always been my understanding that our faith is always meant to grow. It's not encapsulated from when we're in Bible school. It's not encapsulated when we are confirmed in the church. It's not held in a little box because we were married in the church. It is meant to be always something that is growing. Because if it's not growing, it's become stagnant. And so, growing. Yes, here's the excitement. This is only right because your faithfulness is growing by leaps and bounds. Do you hear this language? Not by just a little bit. Not by a mini step. But the challenge here is to see that, yes, even now, our faith is growing by leaps and bounds. Even though we have this 50-year plus history behind us, doesn't mean it stops. And the love that you have for each other is increasing. Oh, thanks be to God. And we see that. We see that as each weekend we have visitors here. I don't remember if it was last weekend or perhaps the weekend before. I think we had 6 new people at each one of our services. That's a lot on one Sunday for us. But it is partly the way why people come back is how you, folks who are here every week, show up and love each other and also include and embrace those who are new and love them as well. And show them that you're not stuck and stagnant in your faith or in your ways of doing church, but you're growing by leaps and bounds as well. So then this text goes on. That's why we ourselves, those who are doing the praying, are bragging about you in God's churches. We tell about your endurance and faithfulness. Really? Is someone telling about our endurance and faithfulness? I hope so. I hope you are doing the telling. And I hope your friends are doing the telling as well. About, yes, we're here. And we've been here for all of these years, and we have intention to be a church into the future. I need to let you know that That doesn't happen with all churches. You know, there are more churches that fail every day than succeed. There are more new church starts that fail, never ever get off the ground. That is not your journey. That is not your history. And so how you pay attention to the inheritance that you leave for those yet to come is vital because of this history of endurance that you have. You have the experience of knowing the love of God in Christ for all this time. And even if you are brand new here, that's what we have to offer. To say, come, grow with us in this way, and let us see how God will unfold beauty and grace and transformed lives right here. So yes, we stand today with the great cloud of witnesses all around us. And in a moment we'll name, and you will be invited to name those who have passed. But it is with faith that we have the endurance to keep stepping into what God is unfolding here, right here, in this place. So may you know the blessings of this day, that you came, showed up to say, yes, my love of God needs to be passed on to another. May you grow enough that you give witness to that in all of your days.